Mood. And I'm going to invite you to affirm that with a neighbor. Robin, the light of the resurrected Christ radiates within you, and you rise beautiful and renewed.
Carol, the light of the resurrected Christ radiates from within you, and you rise renewed.
We do.
We do.
Yeah. All right, you may be seated. Thank you. All right, got another Easter story. Just making sure there's no children in here. Okay. So, a man's driving down the highway, and he's happy. He's had a good day. He's going home. You know, it's kind of one of those two-lane highways, not a lot of traffic. And all of a sudden, he sees the Easter Bunny hopping. And he swerves so he doesn't hit the Easter Bunny. But the Easter Bunny hops in front of his car, and he hits the Easter Bunny. So he pulls over to the side of the road, and he's distraught. So he gets out to see what has happened to the Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny has met his demise. He is upset. He cannot control himself. He cannot believe this. He's just feeling so guilty, so bad. The Easter Bunny's, his basket is just everywhere. His candy is everywhere. Eggs are everywhere. He doesn't know what to do. A woman drives up, and she pulls over. She goes, see what's going on, and he tells her, I killed the Easter Bunny. I didn't mean to. I tried not to. I don't know what I'm going to do. What are we going to do? And she goes, Sugar, she was Southern. She goes, don't you worry about a thing. You just wait right here 1 minute. She goes to her car. She gets this bag out, and he could see she's dumping it out, stuff out. She comes back, and she has, with this big spray can, she takes a spray can, and she empties the contents of the can over the Easter Bunny. Gets them from the top of his little ears all the way down. Just soaks them with everything in that can. Within a few minutes, miraculously, I can't say that word today. That's it. Amazingly, the Easter Bunny jumps up, and he waves at him. And the guy's like, oh my God, he's already in shock from thinking he'd killed the Easter Bunny. And now the Easter Bunny has hopped up, he waves at him, and he hops off. And he goes about 20 yards, and he turns around, he waves again. And he hops off another 20 yards, turns around, waves again. And he does that until they can no longer see them. The guy's going, yes, ma'am. What is in that can? Well, the woman turns the can around, and it says, hairspray brings dead hair back to life. Adds permanent wave. So it ends well. The Easter Bunny is not dead. But have you ever felt that way, kind of runned over? Yeah. I know, we all wish we had that little can we can just spray ourselves and kind of hop on, you know, just do our little hippity-hoppity thing through life. My hairspray doesn't do that, so. Well, this is that time of year, right? It is about, Lent is about those crucifixions, and life is really a series of crucifixions, right? We are human. We go through our own crucifixions. Now, and they can be painful, but the problem really isn't with the crucifixions, because what do? They provide opportunities for growth. But we must take that opportunity, and perhaps the problem is we're not spending enough time in the tomb of letting go. right? So if we don't spend that time letting go, then we do not allow for that resurrection to truly happen. There must be a time of a letting go. And that's what Lent is about. In fact, this is our fourth Sunday of Lent. We've got 2 more Lenten Sundays, and then Easter Sunday. Now, Lent is that time of preparation, of Easter, of resurrection, of new beginnings. Now, we know that Lent is a church-created institution. It's not in the Bible anywhere. But our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, states that though there's no authorization for it in the New Testament, or anywhere for that matter in the Bible, he said the idea, however, has a sound spiritual basis. You know, Moses, Elijah, and Jesus all set a precedent because each observed a 40-day period of prayer and fasting, of letting go, as preparation for spiritual work. Now, Moses received the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. Elijah, he talked with God on Mount Horeb. And Jesus began his ministry at the close of that feast in the wilderness. So his most important work was done after that 40 days. Now, the Hebrew writers, in their writings and in their stories or oral traditions, numbers were always symbolic. Much of their writing is very symbolic. And it symbolized ideas. So 40 is about completeness, a completed preparation for something to follow. Now, in Unity, we use this Lenten time as a more focused awareness, a more focused intention of a letting go. So, you know, it's not focusing on letting go of the tangible things like meat on Fridays or alcohol or, God forbid, chocolate. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There isn't. But our focus is really more on the mental, emotional, psychological letting go of barriers that we have created, right? It is about us letting those go so we can become more fully aware and connected to our divine identity, that Christ within us. Meister Eckhart, who was a mystic in the 13th century, says, God is not found in the soul by adding anything, but by a process of subtraction. And James Finley, who is a teacher with the Center for Action and Contemplation, shares his understanding of Eckhart's teachings. And he says that the guidance that Meister Eckhart offers us in his sermons attempts to help us deepen our experiential understanding of the depths of God's presence within us and in our lives. A foundational way that he helps us with the deepening is with his metaphor of the ground. The ground of God is the deepest depths of God. And in the generosity of God, the deepest depths of God are given to us as the deepest depths of ourselves. So in our nothingness without God, our ground and God's ground is just one ground. And hidden down in the depths of ourselves is a union that's already present. It's just waiting to be realized and waiting to be lived. So what is this path along which we can actually experientially abide in the oneness of this ground? The path cannot be a path of attaining because nothing's missing. Nothing is missing. The ground is this infinite generosity of God completely being given to us as this depth of ourselves. Therefore, the path has to be one of becoming detached from that which hinders us from realizing it, a letting go. And Eckhart, he goes on to say that Eckhart is saying we can choose to live this way in a kind of empty-handed, open process of constantly letting go of everything as having the final say in who we are. We acknowledge it, whether it's the trait, the preference, the condition, but we know it doesn't have the final say in who we are. And a key phrase of this is what Eckhart calls the birth of the word in the soul. What comes welling up out of the ordinariness of everything is the divinity of everything. And so every time we catch ourselves getting reactive, every time we catch ourselves acting as if the outcome of a situation has the authority to name who we are to take a deep breath and remind ourselves that it is not true. That there's this hidden, unfelt, deep abyss-like center in which we're being unexplainably sustained in the midst of the circumstances. That letting go. Jesus, toward the end of his ministry, is preparing his disciples for the time he is not going to be there. He is preparing them for a letting go. And in the book of Matthew, chapter 16, verses 24 through 26, then said Jesus to his disciples, "If any man desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever desires to whosoever desires to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what shall a man be profited if he shall gain the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his life?" So metaphysically, taking up our cross is about letting go of the personal self that sets up countercurrents which put us at a cross purpose with our spiritual development, with our spiritual identity. So Franciscan Sister Ilia Delio writes about dying with Christ and about that cross. And she says, only by dying into God can we become one with God, letting go of everything that hides us from God. She quotes Clare of Assisi, who spoke of the mirror of the cross, in which she saw in the death of Jesus our own human capacity for violence, and yet our great capacity for love. So empty to itself, the mirror simply absorbs an image and returns it to the one who gives it. So discovering ourselves in the mirror of the cross can empower us to love beyond the needs of the ego or the need for self-gratification. We love despite our fragile flaws when we see ourselves loved by the one. In the mirror of the cross, we see what it means to share in divine power. To find oneself in the mirror of the cross is to see the world not from the foot of the cross, but from the cross itself. How we see is how we love. And what we love is what we become. So, letting go isn't always easy. We know that. You know, we are so connected to our human identities of ourselves, to those identities of our communities, those we belong to, and also the opinions we have of those communities who differ from us. It is, however, necessary that if we really want to be better human beings and make a better world for everyone, we've got to learn to let go. Now, we may not have a spray can that will work those miracles, but we have access to something even greater. Through the practice of prayer and meditation, we can begin that process of a letting go, a letting rise who we really are. And that can truly be miraculous. Simply being. Simply being. Now, Lent is that time of preparation, and we're kind of moving through that. We're moving through this transition of letting go. We do it as individuals, and we do it as communities as well. And then with gratitude, we kind of let go of what was. We thank what has come. And with faith and enthusiasm, we welcome what is coming. So, we here at Unity of Austin are in that space. A letting go process began some time ago. And now we're in that process of resurrecting with a new spiritual leader, with new beginnings. And you know what? We are ready. We are ready for our resurrection. We are ready and we're prepared for new beginnings. Right? So, amen. We are ready. Yes. So in closing, I want to share this poem called Letting Go. This poem is by Nelson Mandela, who of course was an iconic South African revolutionary and president. Letting go is about inspiring people to look beyond their differences and embrace the humanity in others. Letting go. To let go doesn't mean to stop caring. It means I can't do it for someone else. To let go is not to cut myself off. It is the realization I can't control another. To let go is not to enable, but to allow learning from natural consequences. To let go is to admit powerlessness, which means the outcome is not in my hands. To let go is not to try to change or blame another. I can only change myself. To let go is not to care for, but to care about. To let go is not to fix, but to be supportive. To let go is not to judge, but to allow another to be a human being. To let go is not to be in the middle arranging outcomes, but to allow others to affect their own outcomes. To let go is not to be protective, it is to permit another to face reality. To let go is not to deny, but to accept. To let go is not to nag, scold, or argue, but to reach out, to search out my own shortcomings and to correct them. To let go is not to adjust everything to my desire, but to take each day as it comes and to cherish the moment. To let go is not to criticize and regulate anyone, but try to become what I dream that I can become. To let go is not to regret the past, but to grow and live for the future. To let go is to fear less and love more. Thank you. Amen.